Newcomer Matt Kennon is quickly making an impact in the country music scene. His debut single, The Call, is lighting up request lines at radio stations across the country. The powerful song deals with suicide and abortion, issues with which Matt has a personal connection. Matt's biological mother was a poor, single woman who could barely support a young son when she found herself pregnant with Matt. Seeing no other option, she made the decision to abort.
She had to make a choice. She had an 8-year-old boy, and then she had a child in the womb with very little income, zero support, very little family. Both of her parents had passed, and she had made the painful decision to not go through with it. Well, which led her to her OBGYN, which was a guy named Dr. Robert Kennon Hancock. And she went in, and little did we know at the time, adoptive mom was in the doctor's office at the same time. So she was there for her yearly, and my adoptive mother and my father, my dad that raised me, which I consider my only parents, had lost 3 children in a house fire about 2.5 years before this date that we're talking about at the doctor's office. And they had one daughter that was 2 years old that survived, and they could not have any other children. My adoptive mother had a hysterectomy, couldn't have any more children. So this doctor was seeing my birth mother, and she was wanting to terminate the pregnancy. And he said, you know, it's about 2 weeks too late. And my mother was a little heavy at the time, and she didn't even know she was pregnant, so she said. So when she found out, she was freaking out and was about to make a rational decision. And that doctor said, you know, I may have a family that would take this child. You know, so he had asked my adoptive mother, and they just said, yes, we'll take him. They had been on a list. It was like a 5-year waiting list, and they're like 36 and 35 at this time, my mom and dad. So they had almost given up hope of getting another child. So that's how all that kind of transpired. So the odds have been stacked against me from day one that I wasn't even supposed to be here. But however, I ended up right where I was supposed to. You know, my mother did not want to bring me into this world, but there was no intervening, I guess, in God's plan, because, you know, here I am. So, and there were so many different situations that we could have written about, but those were 2 that I was close to. I'd seen a lot of suicide, and I'd seen a lot of girls make a decision, and I've had friends, and they've never gotten over it.
After several years of writing songs for other country singers in Nashville, Matt finally landed his own recording contract. He was signed by Bama Jam Records, owned by the award-winning Nashville producer James Stroud. James has been around great musicians throughout most of his professional life. He later found passion for producing and has worked on hit records with Clint Black, Willie Nelson, Tim McGraw, Melissa Etheridge, and many more. James is now the CEO of Stradivarius and Bama Jam Records. When James first heard Matt, he sensed a unique personal quality rare in country music singers and knew he had to sign him.
I just noticed a quality about him that went a lot further and deeper than an artist-writer that I usually see.
Where do you think that depth comes from?
Well, it definitely comes from his history, his life history. And he's one of those rare people, Brad, rare artist that writes his life and it applies to him in a perfect way. And what I mean by that is, if you listen to his lyric, if you listen to his songs, and the way he expresses himself, the type of voice he has, it's very unique to anything that we see or hear right now in our business.
So what makes Matt so unique that you think he'll be a success in this industry? I mean, it's highly competitive.
Yeah, it is highly competitive, and you're right. I think that the key to this whole thing is that if you look at Matt as an artist, he is able to write music that applies to the normal, everyday person in a consistent way. It's pretty rare, and there are artists that are out there. But you know, when you find those people, they are usually, the good ones are usually writing about life and writing about the interpretation of what life is today. And then people, of course, have a passion of grabbing it and saying, he's saying exactly what I feel. And I think that's what's going to make him successful.